I've talked a lot about how smartphone use and the digital world can have an impact on us as individuals. But what about looking at it on a business level? So, in this video, I'm going to be talking about how smartphone use can impact employee productivity. So first of all, it's worth pointing out that, of course, the digital world can help with our productivity, from being able to do quick online meetings to having online communications rather than having to physically get up and walk to speak to someone within the same office as us, to being able to market our businesses. There's obviously so many positives that come from the digital world on a business level. And I don't want to take away from that, because I completely agree. The business world has changed as a result of the digital revolution. And of course, that does lead to so many positives. But in this particular video, I want to really focus on productivity and the negative impact that smartphone use in particular can have on employee productivity, because there are so many aspects to this, all of which can be overcome and all of which we can work with to make sure that actually that negative impact is lessened. So the first impact on productivity is the interruption factor. So be this a work smartphone or a personal smartphone, when we are deep in task and then we get interrupted from that task, it can take us on average around 23 minutes to get full focus back on that task. So when you have a phone spamming notifications at you, bleeping at you, even just lighting up on your desk, that is going to have a really big impact on your productivity. It's going to slow down the way in which you can focus on task. So interruption is definitely one negative impact on productivity. Number two then is the addictive nature of smartphones. I have talked about this before in other videos. I shall pop a link above to other videos I have done on another video I've done on addiction and smartphones and why that addiction occurs. But the difficulty, particularly nowadays, in terms of so many people working from home, is that if someone is addicted to their phone and they're trying to get stuff done at home, there is no one there watching them looking at their phone. No one there seeing how often they pick up their phone. No one there seeing them scrolling on TikTok or Instagram or whatever other app of choice they waste their time on. And so that addiction becomes bigger and bigger and bigger, because when we're in a workplace where we're surrounded by other people, we are less inclined to act on that addiction. And if we do so, people are going to start noticing, and there might be some word said and some suggestion that it's holding you back from actually performing in your role. But with home working, this addiction is now hidden somewhat away. And as a result, it is likely to have an impact on productivity. Addiction is a very strong word, but the majority of us are in some ways addicted to our phones and do find ourselves looking at them more than we should. And so that is definitely an issue for workplaces as well. How do we help individuals overcome that addiction so that they can get more done during the working day? But there is another side to this addiction as well that is impacting productivity. And that's that people are spending all night, all of their downtime, all of their weekends scrolling on their phone. And it's not leading to feelings of fulfillment and joy and happiness. In fact, it's probably, having a negative impact on lots of areas of their life, such as, their relationships, their mental health, and so on, which we'll talk more about in the later part of this video. So it is another thing to really be thinking about. How is this smartphone addiction impacting their workplace productivity? And then how, as workplaces, can you help overcome that addiction with the individual? So when we talk about smartphone use impacting productivity, often we might think about the work smartphone and how that might impact our workplace productivity. But in fact, personal smartphones can have a really profound impact on workplace output. And there are several ways in which it can impact, even if somebody who's working within the workplace and has no access to their personal phone during the day, it can actually still have a negative impact on their productivity. And the first way in which it does that is it really negatively impacts their ability to focus and pay attention. The more time we spend on our phone, the more it impairs our ability to focus, regardless of whether our phone is around. And of course, deep work and being, on task requires focus and attention. Productivity requires focus and attention. And smartphone use has been shown to correlate with a decrease in focus and attention. The next way it is going to impact productivity is sleep. So many people get into bed with the best intentions of going to sleep and think, I'll just have a quick scroll on my phone before I, call it a night. And that quick scroll can turn into hours and hours and hours, particularly for those who are addicted. And so as a result, people are getting less sleep than they require because they're spending so much time on their phone in bed. And of course, there's other aspects of this as well. And again, I've put another video on here about the impact on sleep. I'll pop that above. But things like the blue light, then keeping them awake and telling their brain that it is daytime and, it's time to be awake rather than asleep. And of course, if we have a bad night's sleep, we're less productive the next day. Also, it has been shown to have a negative impact on creativity, which is really important in many roles, to be generating new ideas and innovating. And it has been shown to have a negative impact on our mental health. Now, you will know that when you are suffering from mental health issues, or you have a lowered mental health, a negative impact on your mental health, again, your productivity is generally impacted as a result. It is definitely harder to be committed and focused. And as a result, that is going to have an impact on employee output. So all of that can happen even without personal phones being allowed in the workplace. And sometimes actually it's even worse when phones aren't allowed in the workplace, because of course then people go home and binge all evening on their phone. So that is going to have a negative impact as well. And then, of course, there is the issue of the business smartphone. So many businesses now give their employees a work phone, and that work phone travels around with them everywhere. It's not like having a work phone that stays on your desk and that's all it's there during work hours only. It's got the ability to be in our pocket, in our coat, in our cupboard, in our kitchen, wherever you keep it, out of work hours. And if there are any notifications coming through, that is immediately sending our heads back to work. I wonder what that is. Is that an email from that person I emailed today? I wonder what they've come back with. And then you're in that headspace of thinking about work just from hearing that notification, even if you don't respond. But for so many employees, actually, because they can work out of the workplace, there's then the problem of not being able to switch off and thinking, actually, if I just answer these emails now at 9 o'clock at night, I'll have less to do tomorrow and I'll be able to crack on with that thing I meant to crack on with. Sounds great, but actually in terms of productivity, it does lower productivity, because there is less time when we're not thinking about work, when we're switched off from work, when we're able to enjoy our downtime, bring fulfillment and health into our lives with things like exercise or meditation and well-being practices, or even just being able to sit and chill and watch a Netflix box set uninterrupted. It's really important for productivity, that downtime, that bit of time to give your brain a break from work, to not have to think about it, is so important, to avoid as well things like burnout and stress, which of course have a hugely negative impact on productivity. And in this ever-on world, it is getting harder and harder for employees to switch off, to leave the workplace and not have to think about work, or not have to check in with work, or not have to respond to an email, not have to be on call. And it's not a great thing. In fact, it is definitely leading into a decrease in output rather than an increase. And so there are so many aspects to this, to how smartphones are impacting productivity. As I said at the start, of course, there is the positive side as well. And I would definitely argue that, there's a great place for smartphones as part of the digital culture of a business. But it's really important to think about, actually, is there ways that we can improve our digital culture? Is there ways that we can help individuals use their smartphones less? And is there ways that we can promote that within the business to gain back that productivity? And on top of it, of course, improve the well-being of your employees. And if that sounds of interest, this is something that I do. I help organizations improve their digital culture. I work with teams on their smartphone use personally. So we do programs that help overcome smartphone addiction, that help reduce that screen time, so that they're getting more positives from their smartphone use rather than negatives, which leads to a great positive increase in output for the business. And I also work with businesses on looking at their digital culture as a whole, things like the use of smartphones, the use of digital tools, and how that is managed to get more positives than negatives from it. And if you would like to find out more about that, then please do get in touch with me. I've put my LinkedIn profile link below. So please do contact me via LinkedIn, and I would love to have a conversation with you about how I can help improve the digital culture of your organization. Thank you so much for watching, and I would absolutely love it if you would subscribe. If you're interested in hearing more about digital well-being and improving relationships with the digital world, then please do click on this little box down here, and that will take you to where you can subscribe to my channel. And I'll see you again soon. Take care. Bye.